E. Lee, the son of a Revolutionary War hero, a West Point graduate who finished second in his class, and a decorated veteran of the Mexican-American War. Believe it or not, when the Union needed a commander, Lincoln actually offered Lee the job, but he turned it down, and not for the reason you might think, because Lee opposed secession and even called slavery a moral and political evil. But when Virginia left the Union, Lee faced his own impossible choice: fight against his country or fight against his home, and he sided with Virginia, gifting the Confederacy one of the sharpest military minds in history. But here's the crazy part: both sides assumed the war would be over pretty quick, cause when Union troops marched toward Virginia, the mood was almost festive. People from DC actually packed picnic baskets and rode out in carriages to watch the battle. Anyone have some popcorn? Ooh, don't mind if I do. But the good vibes didn't last long, cause the Battle of Bull Run began with the two armies colliding, and at first, the Union pushed the Confederates back. But when Brigadier General Thomas Jackson arrived with his brigade, the Confederates rallied. One Confederate officer even pointed and shouted, "There stands Jackson like a stone wall!" And the nickname stuck. Stonewall Jackson had arrived, allowing the Confederates to regroup and counterattack, where they broke the Union line and forced them to retreat in a full-blown panic. And it was so chaotic, civilian carriages were bumping into Union troops in the rush to get home. Hey, wait up! Can somebody give me a ride? But this was only the beginning, because 1862 would unleash a level of violence America had never seen before. Down in Tennessee, a quiet, cigar-chewing Union general named Ulysses S. Grant was making his move. He captured Fort Henry, then Fort Donelson. And when the Confederate commander asked for surrender terms, Grant replied with the line that made him famous: "No terms except unconditional and immediate surrender can be accepted." Translation: I'm not here to negotiate, I'm here to win. But Grant's real test came at a place called Shiloh, where Confederate forces launched a surprise attack and Union lines buckled. But Grant didn't panic. He never panicked. That night, reinforcements arrived, and at sunrise, Grant counterattacked, and hard. Because by the end of day 2, the Confederates were the ones retreating. Whew, a close call, right? Well, not exactly. Cause when the smoke cleared, it revealed over 23,000 casualties, more than all previous American wars combined. I just can't believe it. So, with war heating up, Lincoln desperately needed someone to lead his main army. And in comes General George McClellan, young, brilliant, and a guy convinced he was Napoleon 2.0. But McClellan's confidence came with a fatal flaw. He hated taking risks. If the stars weren't aligned, the weather wasn't perfect, and the odds weren't 110% in his favor, he just wouldn't attack.
Get back in line, Flappy!
Sorry, sir. Meanwhile, Lincoln was losing his patience. He sent McClellan a note saying, "If you don't want to use the army, I would like to borrow it for a while." Ouch! So McClellan finally launched the Peninsula Campaign, a massive push to capture Richmond, the Confederate capital. And for a moment, it looked like the crazy kid might pull it off. Union troops got so close they could hear Richmond's church bells ringing. But that's when everything changed, cause a new commander took charge of the Confederate Army, Robert E. Lee. And oh boy, did he not waste a moment, cause Lee went straight on the attack and hammered McClellan's army. Mud, bayonets, forest on fire. It was straight up madness. Yet, in the end, Lee actually lost more men than McClellan. But he didn't care. He'd achieved exactly what he wanted. The Union Army pushed away from Richmond, and McClellan's confidence was shattered. And shattered is the perfect way to put it, because McClellan walked away convinced he'd been outnumbered, outmatched, and crushed by some massive Confederate force. But in reality, Lee's army was smaller. So, riding high from his victories, Lee made a bold move and took the war into the north by invading Maryland. But that's when fate dropped a plot twist so crazy, Miss Flappy thought I was literally making this up. But I'm not, I swear. 'Cause a Union soldier stumbled across an abandoned Confederate campsite and found a copy of Lee's battle plan. There it was, the full blueprint. McClellan literally held the Confederacy's playbook in his hands. So, with this new advantage, up against Lee's tactical genius, we finally got ourselves a fair fight. And what came next was the bloodiest day in American history, the Battle of Antietam, where Union troops surged into a cornfield and faced a storm of lead. Men charged, fell, and charged again. Bodies dropped everywhere. And one soldier later said a man could walk from one end of the field to the other without ever touching the ground. Horrifying. But just when you thought the battle couldn't get worse, it moved to Bloody Lane, a sunken road where Confederates packed in and mowed down wave after wave of Union soldiers charging straight into their rifles. Eventually, Union troops flanked the road and fired